everyone. I'm Ciana, and this is my senior project.
Hi.
So this is an image of Jay Crowder. He's a starter for the Boston Celtics and is an NBA player. Unfortunately, he won't be playing in his next game due to an injury. This is Lance Thomas. He's a forward for the New York Knicks, and he also has been taken out of the game for an injury. This is Rajon Rondo, who now plays for the Chicago Bulls, and J.R. Smith, who plays for the Cavaliers, and both men have been taken out for an injury. And this is a list of 8 other different NBA basketball players who have been taken out of the 2016-2017 season due to an injury. And they all just so happen to sustain the same injury, an ankle injury. This is a huge problem. Professional basketball players are constantly getting reoccurring ankle injuries. And a study published in 2010, researchers did an overview of injuries sustained within the NBA basketball players, and lateral ankle sprains consisted of 13.2% of all of the injuries, and it consisted to be the most frequent and prevalent among all of the injuries. This is a really big problem. This is a really big problem. If professional basketball players who have resources to athletic trainers, physical therapists, fancy shoes that give them stability, and these other resources and coaches, then this is a big concern for adolescents who are playing the same exact sport and doing the same exact thing as an NBA player but don't actually have access to these resources. I sent a survey out to the SCS varsity boys basketball team. The survey asked, how many ankle injuries have you sustained in the past year? 90% of the boys have sustained at least one injury, 60% have sustained a second, and 20% have sustained at least 3 in the past year. And this is incredibly significant because if our boys are sustaining this amount of injuries, then that means they're being taken out of the game and reduced to their athletic exposure to games and practices, so they're not playing as much, which decreases our chances of getting into the championships, and it also hurts the player because they're not playing their favorite sport, which is basketball in this case. So the problem here is that there is a lack of preventative measures regarding ankle injuries. See, more research is being conducted on how to rehabilitate or fix these injuries instead of how to prevent them in the first place. And this is a big issue or a concern for adolescent athletes who are having to not play games, whose parents are having to take their child to physical therapy and other practices to make sure that their ankles are being taken care of, which basically pulls money out of their wallet. And it's also detrimental to coaches and seeing their players getting hurt and reducing their chances of sustaining or getting into the championship game. So this led me to my research question. To what extent does strengthening and proprioceptive exercises affect ankle strength amongst the SCS 2016 basketball player? Well, just to give a little bit of an explanation. So proprioceptive is awareness of oneself, or it's similar to mindfulness and what we do in yoga, and it's basically the physical term where our nerves send messages to our spine, which then goes to our brain, and it tells us the awareness of our body and other things. And so learning how to do that can help benefit basketball players by letting them know when their ankles are being overturned, which is how ankle injuries are sustained. Usually in basketball it's sustained through jumping, and when they come down and landing, sometimes they land on their foot wrong, which then causes an ankle sprain. Other things such as collision with other players could also cause this injury. And so by creating or putting in prevention methods such as exercises to strengthen the ankles and strengthen the muscles, and to enhance proprioceptiveness, then we can have our basketball players be aware of when they're about to sprain their ankle, or how we can strengthen their ankles that way this does not occur. So for the study, I would like to, I'll be taking all the basketball players from all the teams, so the varsity, JV, boys and girls and freshmen. And I will be randomly choosing the players, and then I will implement an ankle strength test, and I'll have them take the test. And then after this, I will implement the program, so for strengthening and progressive exercises. And then after that, I will have them take the ankle strength test again to see if there's any differences. I know this is very significant, not only from the research that I've done with the boys in the survey that I sent out, but also reading numerous articles about ankle injuries and how they're sustained. And this is important that primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention methods be developed to reduce incidence and severity of ankle sprains in U.S. high school athletes. A lot of research has been conducted on rehabilitation and of professional basketball players. However, not a lot of research has been done on the adolescent, because adolescents aren't fully grown yet. So there is that issue that because they're not fully grown, they're more susceptible to injury because their bones and other structures are weaker. So the possible implications, one kind of positive thing that can come out of this is if this is successful, it is a way for coaches and even athletes to take the initiative to help strengthen their ankles. That way players aren't getting harmed. Another thing too is the study specifically geared towards basketball players. However, whether or not it can be used for a rugby player or volleyball player is kind of unknown. I'll have to do more research into that. However, the overall goal is to create a long-lasting prevention method that will reduce the rate of ankle injuries sustained amongst the SAS basketball player. And that is the overall goal, and thank you.